Today we are looking at the 1993 Acura NSX. This is an amazing car that came out when about the time I was beginning to drive, and I was also watching Formula One. So Honda built this essentially supercar during the heyday of their Formula One championships. And you can see the model of the McLaren Honda that Ayrton Senna took to 3 world titles in roughly this time frame. Senna was actually involved in the development of this particular car, drove and tested it, and gave feedback that the engineers ultimately incorporated in the actual road car. What is unique about this vehicle is that it has a mid-engine, which you'll see ahead of the line of the rear axle, which gives it essentially the best dynamics that you can have in a vehicle as opposed to a front or a rear engine. So the mid-engine location is exactly what you would find in a Formula One car of the time, like this one here, and it provides for phenomenal handling dynamics, both in terms of rotation and stability of the overall platform. So this car handled completely differently than most sports cars you could buy at the time, which had front engine and generally rear drive locations. So really the only other manufacturer selling mid-engine cars in the US at the time was Ferrari, who McLaren and Honda were taking on directly in Formula One at the time. More Formula One componentry can be found in the shell. It was an all aluminum vehicle, again, extremely rare in the early 90s when this car was developed. All aluminum engine block and heads, and revved to an almost unheard of 8,000 RPM in, again, the early 90s. Nothing sounded like this. And it led to about 10 or 15 years of Honda-based dominance in engine power plants. And in fact, some of these cars that are powered by engines like this go for incredible numbers, where enthusiasts are trying to capture that high revving, naturally aspirated sound, the linearity of the acceleration, and just the overall predictable behavior of the engine. So this particular car is very rare because it is completely bone stock. There is just one modification that we know of, which is the titanium gear shift, the Zanardi shifter. The key, which is a titanium look alloy, completely stock wheels. We even verified are actually the original equipment spec. Not just the original equipment spec, but actually issued from Honda. And it has the classic black on red scheme. The Honda engineers were actually inspired by the F-16 fighter jet when they were developing this canopy. So for drivers of other exotics, rear visibility, even through the rear quarter, it can be compromised in a great deal. The visibility out of this car is utterly exceptional. And because it is a Honda, this 30-year-old car is still as tight as a drum. It is one of the greatest cars I have driven. I've had the privilege of driving a lot of really neat cars over the last year since we've been in this business. And the way the gearbox shifts, the way the engine sounds, the way the brakes feel, are all just, frankly, just delights. And the steering itself, in these early models up until 1993, is manual. So there's no power assist whatsoever. So you're actually getting the sensations of the road. And it's surprisingly easy to maneuver, even at lower speeds. So Honda really did a phenomenal job with this car. So one thing that I would like to point out about this particular car, as you'll see in the CarFax, is it did have a front end accident in 1996, and it was repaired, frankly, exceptionally well by Ed Boyle's Acura in Atlanta. It's just a 2-owner car, and it was repaired correctly. On the CarFax, there is frankly, a dire warning of major damage. So we went to great lengths to assure the integrity of this car before we represented it for sale. First of all, it's been checked out by Daisy Import Auto Care in the greater Washington, D.C. area, who are really the go-to specialists for the Mid-Atlantic. And they would be most happy to talk to prospective buyers about the quality of this particular car. We were also able to get TrueFrame to come out and inspect the vehicle when they provided a certificate of integrity, which you will see in the listing, that represents minor cosmetic repairs. So the car, you know, to my point, I can tell you it drives great, but we actually have objective third-party verification for how solid and how well put together this car is with its repairs. And of course, would welcome anyone in the region to come out and take a test drive to see for themselves.